Hey, my name is Dean, and I'm about to launch into part two of a 5-part series of the adventure bikes that I've owned since 2021. I want to talk a little bit about my 12-month long experience with a KTM 890R, Adventure R. It was a 2021 model. There's been tons of reviews of the specs on it. 105 horsepower, great torque. Ready to race, no question. It's definitely the best mid-size adventure bike that I've ever ridden in terms of just feeling so confident with the suspension, the power, the handling, the agility, the balance, all those things. Love the bike. I put on just under 20,000 kilometers on it, and one of my old high school buddies also had an 890 at the time. And the primary reason why both he and I decided to sell our 890s was related to some reliability issues that were starting to become apparent in the community. I had put a Rottweiler airbox on, which it just incredibly changed the sound of the bike, and also decatted the bike. And I was very, very careful in how I managed the air filter, the oiling of it, the cleaning of it, extra careful. And every once in a while when I would take it off to clean it and I put my finger inside the airbox, I would feel a little bit of dust, and that was really disconcerting for me. And then having other friends in our group here in Vancouver on 790 Adventure R's were having to replace their cams, and their valves were all messed up, and basically as a result of most likely a Rottweiler airbox. And no one's ever been able to definitively say if the inner workings of the KTM engine, the cam and the valves, were perhaps not hardened to standard. Who knows? Let that conspiracy or those conversations be held by the experts. But for me, I love the bike. I love the way it looked. I definitely love the way it handled. Dropped it lots. Was never a challenge for me to pick up. I always felt solid and stable on the bike. The electronics were pretty easy to manage. I would most often ride in rally off-road, if I recall. Have totally turned off the ABS. And in terms of the traction control, I would, there were 9 settings or slip control, and I would probably be most likely found between 3 to 5 if I was off-road. But if I wanted to go hooligan style, I would be in traction control slip mode number 1. And that bike was just so much fun to ride. One thing that I will say about it, and a lot of our friends in the group were on Teneres, and the Teneres on the highway would just always pull away. They would always seem to be much smoother at speeds above 150 kilometers an hour. And I never felt really comfortable with the bike over 150 for long periods of time, mainly because of the engine sounded terrible. It was just, I mean, it sounds like a KTM engine. But in terms of the high front fender, and it always felt a little susceptible to potential of a tank slapping situation at high speed on the highway, which no one wants. So I drove the thing pretty respectfully and at reasonable speeds mostly. And it was actually a hard bike to sell, because I decided that upon selling it, I was going to move to the Tenere 700, and that's going to be part 3 in the series of 5 of my reviews. But all in all, 890, fantastic bike. There's lots of guys that ride them in my group, and I always have a soft spot for the KTM 890. Super great bike, and I hope this is helpful for you. We'll talk to you soon.